NHL 2018-19 regular season standings predictions, number 31 to 17. Now, we're about 3 games into the regular season. I know I should have done this before the start of it, but I got a day job. What are you going to do? So, in any case, 3 games in doesn't really make too much of a difference. I put this list together before the regular season even started. And also, I didn't think thought it'd be too long if I did them all at once. So I thought I'd just split it up into 2 videos to keep them a little bit shorter. Let's get started. Number 31, Detroit Red Wings. Let's see. No Cronwell, no Green, no Zetterberg, no real number 1 starting goalie. I mean, they picked up Bernier, there's Howard, but I think those are 2 backups right now. And, I mean, there's a lot of sophomores, rookies on the team. I think they'll be an exciting team to watch. I think there'll be fun games, but yeah, and I don't think Detroit fans will be too upset over getting that number 1 pick next year. I hear he's kind of a good defenseman. Number 30, Ottawa Senators. I think the only surprise here is that I didn't put them in number 31 spot. So, sorry, Ottawa, but, I mean, you know it, we know it, everybody knows it. Eugene Melnyk is just one big tire fire of an owner, and let's see, no Carlson, no Hoffman, Duchesne and Stone and Anderson could very well be traded before the deadline. I mean, there's a lot of young talent. Ottawa's got a lot of young prospects coming up, so there is a future there. But then you add their GM, Pure Dorian. Maybe it'll take more like 4, 5, or 6 years, but in any case, number 29, the Vancouver Canucks. I've got a lot of Canuck fans as friends, and I think the biggest thing they're going to be upset at is that I didn't put them at number 31, because they could really use that defenseman next year. That elite defenseman. I mean, they've got a whole batch full of promising prospects coming up. Besser, Peterson, Demenko, who are playing or are still in the minors, Horvat, the list just goes, Quinn Hughes, the list just goes on and on and on. If they can, land a couple, 2 or 3 more high picks in the next couple of years, in about 4 years' time, maybe 4 or 5 years' time, I really see this team contending. Yeah. But Benning, he could have really sort of sped up the process by, maybe signing Russell and Beagle to 1 or 2 year deals with a bit more of a friendly cap hit, so that, let's say, if you wanted to trade them at the deadline to a contender for, a couple of, 1 or 2 picks, they'd be more likely to take them if they weren't so, costly. Or you might have to eat some of the salary. But I just sometimes, Benning, what are you doing? I don't know. It hurts. In any case, number 28, the Montreal Canadiens. Max Pacioretty's gone, the captain. Weber, their number 1 defenseman, he won't be ready till December, January. What kind of Max Domi are they going to get? Is he going to play wing? Is he going to play center? Can he score goals again? Drouin, ditto. Mark Bergevin is the teeter-totter of general managers in the NHL. He makes one good move, and then he makes a bad move, and then he makes a good move, and then he makes a bad move, and then it just goes back and forth to back and forth. I don't know what to expect with this guy. So it's the same with this team. I mean, if Carey Price has a bounce back year, they could shoot up this chart. If not, then he's just a little bit better, or just as bad as he was last year. They could drop down one or two spaces. So that's a big question mark. The Canadiens this year. We'll see what happens. Number 27, the New York Islanders. Now, minus John Tavares, you add Leo Komarov, Matt Martin, Barry Trotz, Valerie Philippa. Matthew Barzal moves that top center spot where he's going to get a lot more attention this year. And is Arlie and Bailey going to put up the same kind of points without Tavares? I think Lamoriello, although Trotz is there to show them, that Stanley Cup pedigree and make sure they're all defensively responsible and play a two-way game and, all that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure Lamoriello, like what he did with the Leafs 3 years ago, he's going to try and tank that team. He's going to try and make sure they finish at least in the bottom 5 of the standings. And once the trade deadline comes around, he's going to probably peddle a couple of those veterans away to some contenders who can use depth forwards, defensemen, etc., etc. So, as exciting as the Islanders might be to watch sometimes, I think that's the direction they're going. And honestly, that's what I would do. Number 26, the New York Rangers. This comes as no surprise to anyone, maybe seeing as how I have them so high. But Gorton and the rest of the Ranger front office has been very forthright with the fans, saying they're in a rebuild. This is what's happening. Henrik Lundqvist has obviously chosen to stay, but who knows what veterans might be shipped out during the trade deadline for picks and so forth. They've got a lot of good young players coming up and players and. Who knows? 3-5 years from now, this could start paying off for them. I mean, this whole list, from 26 to 31, as I've mentioned before, is quite interchangeable. So, anyways, number 25, the Chicago Blackhawks. I just noticed that I have I have 4 of the original 6 teams in the bottom 6 here of the league. Isn't that crazy? And the other 2, the ones I really care about in any part, and I guess are on the other side of the board. So that's okay for me. Maybe not for you, but the Blackhawks, they're a conundrum, aren't they? I mean, what's Bowman gonna do? They're up against the cap. Quenneville only has so many magic bunnies he can pull out of a hat. Corey Crawford, if he's injured again, or doesn't come back in time, or any of the above for an extended period of time, the Chicago Blackhawks are maybe even going to sink a couple of rounds because Cam Ward is not the answer. Hurricanes fans know that, and savvy Blackhawk fans know that as well. They're not going anywhere without him. Kane's got to have a really good year. So is Taves. More of a rebound year for him. Some of their Saad is going to have to, really come around and show some of what he had like 2-3 years ago. And a lot of their younger players are going to have career years. Like Brinkat is maybe if he scores another 20 points this season, 15, 20 points. I know it sounds a little nuts, but in order for them to come within spitting distance of a playoff spot, that's all going to have to happen. And if it doesn't, if they miss the playoffs again, and they don't start selling off some of their veterans, Duncan Keith is also getting right up there right now as well. They got to choose and are you gonna tank? Or are you going to go for it? Because they just don't have the money to go for it. And they have to get incredibly lucky with the people they already have in order to do anything. So you see the issue here. Number 24, The Buffalo Sabres. Now, O'Reilly was a loss, obviously, but there's a lot of great players on this, young players on this team. Jason Botterill has really got the ship pointed in the right direction. I still think it's going to take, a few years, but Middlestat, starting, second line center this year. Jack Eichel is just poised to have a breakout year. List goes on. They brought in a couple of veterans like Connor Sheary. Hutton from St. Louis. He's a toss-up on how he's going to do because, there are a lot of goalies who come out of St. Louis because they've got good defense and they put up good numbers, but afterwards, not so much. E.g. Brian Elliott with the Calgary Flames and the Philadelphia Flyers. So, but at least it's a promising group. Connor Sheary came in from Pittsburgh, so he'll look good on that first or second line. So will Skinner. Let's hope they can re-sign him or trade him. When the deadline comes around for something. For a couple more draft picks or a young prospect or whatever. But Dallin, Buffalo's going to be fine. There is a blue sky at the end of that tunnel, and Sabre fans can see it. Number 23, the Arizona Coyotes. Now, John Shack has slowly been, steering this team in the right direction, but there's a lot of question marks. Like, are they going to be the 17-10-3 team after February 6th of last season? Can Antti Raanta be the same kind of goaltender that he was? For the trade for Max Domi and Alex Galchenyuk, I just can't pronounce that name. Can Galchenyuk put up another 30 goals as a second line center for them? Will Dylan Strome finally pick it up and show why he was picked third overall a couple of years ago as a center? Will Clayton Keller have another great year? Will Derek Stefan continue to steer the ship as well? As number one line center. There's a lot of question marks here. Arizona is seems like such a dark horse of a team. Will they make the playoffs? I don't think so. But they could definitely move up on this list. Really, from 25 to 21 on my list anyway, I found it very interchangeable. I don't think they'll go further than, 21 at the most, but it is possible if they get hot goaltending and some of the younger players come around. Number 22, the Carolina Hurricanes. Out goes Skinner, Ryan, Hannafin, Lindholm, amongst others. In comes Hamilton, DeHaan, Svechnikov, Marzik, amongst others. Is this team going to the left or is it going to the right? Where is this team going? I'm a little confused at this. I'm glad they got a new owner. He seems to have injected some. Out goes the coach Bill Peters as well to Calgary. In comes Rob Brindamore as a new coach. I'm just not sure which way this team is going. They don't seem to have it seems like they're retooling and yet getting younger at the same time. What's going to happen with the Hurricanes if they don't get any goaltending? Nothing. I think that they could even slide down a few spots. So if they do get some goaltending, I don't know. They got a great back end. They also got DeHaan. I forgot to mention him on defense from the Islanders, or as a UFA from the Islanders. So they could move up but there's no depth, in the forward ranks. I just don't see it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Number 21, the New Jersey Devils. They surprised a lot of teams last year with their speed. I don't think they'll do it again. I think teams are obviously going to come more prepared for them. For Taylor Hall, for Nico Hershiser, who if I pronounce that properly, who I think will have a step up this year as well. But I think they lost some key veterans in Moore and Grabner and Hayes. Who am I missing here? Maroon. So they've got a good young team that's getting better, and I think it's one of those take 2 step forwards, 1 step back scenario, and I think there'll be a lot of good things to come from the Devils in another couple of years or so. Number 20, the Edmonton Oilers. A lot of question marks on this team. Depth pickups, Brodziak and Ryder were great for contending teams, but Edmonton doesn't seem to be that contending team. Will Ty Rattie prove what he did in the preseason on the first line with McDavid and Nugent Hopkins in the regular season? Will that chemistry stick? Will Puljujarvi and Lucic step out of the clouds and create great chemistry with Draisaitl? Will the defense be able to sustain? Will Larson have a bounce back year? I mean, they've lost Sekera until January, February. Who knows? With his Achilles heel, Achilles tendon. Will this new backup goaltender Koiskinen prove what he did in the KHL in the NHL? If all these things align, Edmonton's a playoff team. Maybe they'll even win a round or two. Otherwise, sorry, Oiler fans. I can't place you any higher. I just don't see it. Number 19, the Colorado Avalanche. Joe Sakic, the GM, has done a fantastic job. And this is one of those scenarios where, again, take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I'm sure they're really looking forward to that potential number 1 round draft pick that number 1 overall, they picked up from the Ottawa Senators for next year. Colorado has probably one of the best first lines in hockey right now. As you know, they had like a 47-point turnaround season last year, one of the biggest ever in hockey. And Bernier was there. He won like 10 games straight at one point. But they did pick up Grubauer from Washington to back up the often injured Varlamov. And Colorado's number 2 line is more like a good third line on most other teams. Where do I see them? I don't. Their defense isn't quite deep enough yet, but they're getting there. Have no fear, Avalanche fans. You'll be knocking on that door soon. Number 18, the Los Angeles Kings. I'm just going to say what everyone's thinking. You're old, you're slow, and you get hurt a lot. The only difference, the only pickup of this offseason was Ilya Kovalchuk. Now, I understand he's had a great, past 5 seasons in the KHL, and he could potentially score, like 30 goals for you this season. But if you can squeak into the playoffs, which everyone was pretty surprised at last season, and get swept by the Vegas Golden Knights with Jonathan Quick standing on his head and pulling off, I believe, one of the best GPAs and save percentages of the playoffs, I just don't see it happening. Carter's up there. Brown had a bounce back season last year, and so did Kopitar. Brown had his best point season ever. Can he do it again? Kopitar, I believe he can. The rest of the team, I just don't see the depth. I don't see the scoring. And if any of those guys gets hurt, if Carter gets hurt again, although last year was a bit of a a weird one. I believe he got a laceration on his shin. He was out like 50 games. That has nothing to do with aging, but that was like a strange accident. But if Quick goes down, and their backup Campbell doesn't just really outperform, if any of those players go down, even if they do, if everything goes perfect, yes, I can see them, and Kovalchuk, adds those 30 goals, I can see them making the playoffs. Otherwise, I just don't. I see them as a team kind of in denial. It's time to start selling off and move on. Number 17, and the last team for this video. The Anaheim Ducks. I see them sort of as a fresher, younger version of the Los Angeles Kings, in a sense that there's not as many slow veterans in the lineup, and they have a well sort of balanced group of an age bracket within the forward and defense core. Their defense is pretty solid all around. Their forward group has taken quite a hit, and this is why they're number 17. I mean, Kessler had hip surgery. He's going to be in the Joe Thornton kind of sense, where that's hard to come back from, especially at his age of 34, 35 years old. He may only play like half a season. He may not even start the season. It may take him until November to get into a game. Who knows with him? Eves is out. Perry is now out for a couple of months. I mean, you're talking, your top 6 forwards here. So Kessler being your second line center, if he does step in, will probably be your third line center. Gibson, can he stay healthy for the entire year? I mean, I believe he was out for about 20 games last season. And if anything happens to Getzlaf, forget it. They're definitely not making the playoffs. For more than 10 games, 10, 15 games without Getzlaf, I think will hurt them enough. But if Getzlaf is healthy, if Gibson is healthy, if the younger players, take a little bit of a step forward, Anaheim can move up as high as number 13 on this list. But as it stands, I know they've made the playoffs, like 4 or 5 years straight now. They're one of the best expansion teams in a long time. But Bob Murray may just... Is Bob Murray? Yeah. The GM may just have to make some hard choices coming this trade deadline. Number 16. Oh, what number 16? That's it. This video's done. This is long enough. The next video, we're going to go from 16 up to number 1. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you know a hockey geek, please don't feel shy about sharing. And I'll see you soon.